Oh, guys, would you take a look at the beauty before the camera? Our friends at Great Eastern Cutlery strike again. And thank you, Steve, for sending these knives to me, along with some research for episode 14.0 of Rob and Steve's Traditional Knives Anthology. Stick with me, guys. We'll get into it. Rob here. It is the evening of 26 February 2015, and yes, it is time for episode 14.0 of the Traditional Knives Anthology on the TheApostleP channel in conjunction with Howabouthetruth. And let's get right into Steve's research and narrative, which we all tune in for, don't we? We're talking tonight about the Great Eastern Cutlery number 57, Geppetto Whittler. And here we go. Take it away, Steve. Hey, Rob, and hello again, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. Today we will be looking at the 570311 Geppetto Whittler by Great Eastern Cutlery. I have 4 of these, and the 2 before the camera today are my 2 favorites. In the Tidioute version, we have the blue abalone looking glass. Now, looking glass abalone, of course, different than LVS abalone is in that the abalone is just a thin layer next to the liner with a clear acrylic covering. This is next to the rarest version of all 57 Whittlers produced, with only 24 being made, and none have serial numbers. The rarest is the pink awabi shell looking glass at only 17 produced. Now, this is genuine abalone, as I said. Steve continues, it's a thin veneer sheet encased under a clear acrylic handle. This acrylic is an extremely tough material. When viewing any GEC looking glass knife from overhead or underneath, you can see the thickness of the clear acrylic. The 0 in the number, that's 570311, signifies the main blade as a Wharncliffe. Note that the 3 P's within a circle etched on the rear side of the main blade. This stands for Pattern Premier Production, meaning they were a brand new pattern for GEC. They put that special etch only on Tidioute knives and never on any Northfields, which I think is interesting. For a 3.5-inch knife, note the size of those monster bolsters and view the large size of the main blade tang from the end. Now let's look at it with the blade closed. Look at how huge that blade tang is in width. If you've been following this series, you know why. Okay, Steve continues, don't let that rather light, user-friendly backspring tension fool you, as the oversized tang and bolster make for a very sturdy knife, and that's a fact. Perfect for wood carving or whittling. This pattern can stand more lateral force than a knife with smaller tangs and bolsters. Physics 101, Steve says. If you view the size of the tangs from the other end for both small blades, while they're closed, you will notice that they are also rather large for such tiny knives. And let's take a peek at how tiny they really are. So there's the size of that coping blade. Maybe what, 1.25 inches of cutting edge? And then look how thick that tang is. Ooh. Let's get my tubes out of the way so I stop hitting them. The main blade tang and bolsters for this pattern are among the very biggest among all knives made by GEC. Only 3 or 4 patterns in the GEC catalog sport larger bolsters and tangs. This particular knife has no blade rub, and it's the only one of my 4 that has no rub marks. Let's verify that. Let's, of course, hoping that I haven't caused any. So here's the main. Satin finished, of course, and Tidioute trim. Nothing. And using standard Whittler protocol, have the main blade open before we open the small ones. There's the coping. No rub marks. Absolutely none. And here's this sexy little clip. Isn't that thing gorgeous? Nobody makes small blades like GEC. No rub marks, perfectly flat. Oh, this thing is gorgeous. The knife is almost flawless, with the only flaw being 3 super tiny pores on the rear side of the main blade. I gotta look. Sorry, guys. Oh, there they are. You can see they were already present when they were grinding the main profile of the blade. And let's zoom in, see if I can show them to you. They're right here. I'm not sure the camera's going to pick that up or not, but there are 3 tiny little pock marks. I really love the beautiful grinds on the rear side of the little clip point blade. I agree. Nice detail. The handle shape and size is conducive to a pinch grip or holding the knife backwards in the folds of your fingers, much like peeling an apple. Let's see what he's talking about. So that'd be right like this, like peeling an apple. Oh, he's right too. Oh my. And that grip is also amazing. And then, you know, your thumbnail, of course, would anchor whatever you're cutting. Not so much this little draw cut grip with that big bolster, though. He says, I normally don't like this type of thin abalone, even on GEC knives, due to the unsightly seams in the veneer, and you can see what Steve's talking about. Not much continuity there. You know, there's a section, there's a section, there's a section, and so on. But the knife is a welcome departure to such handles, and it's quite beautiful. Now let's look at the Northfield version in red stag. And this particular knife especially has some of the most perfectly balanced stag or handle-to-handle profile found on any knife. And oh, is he ever right? Look at that, guys. Look at the symmetry in that stag in profile. It is amazing. See it a little better. Yep. Beautifully matched, not book matched. Stag is never book matched because they're antlers as God created them. They don't have mirror image sides, but very well suited to each other, aren't they? And the coloration is very good side to side. Steve continues, I have one more of these in red stag and another in natural stag. Those both have nice stag, but not as nicely profiled as this knife, which also happens to be the only prototype. I guess they wanted to make this only prototype extra special with these 2 covers. This knife, like my other 2 at home, does have the ever so slight rub marks on the main blade. Let's take a look at what Steve's talking about. And you'll be able to see them easily in this polished blade. There's one right there. And on the other side, even lighter, right there. All 4 knives have near identical spring tension. The GEC made 47 of these in red stag, 25 serialized, 21 without numbers, and then this prototype. They only made 21 total in the natural stag. 11 handle options were available between both the Tidioute and Northfield models. Very few, if any at all, are still available with the Wharncliffe blades. Yeah. These Gepetto Whittlers are some of the finest whittlers ever produced by anyone, and they were very hot sellers. They were also made with the option of a clip point main. In a recent email exchange with Mike Latham of CollectorKnives.net, Mike said it best, quote, "Nobody makes a whittler like Bill Howard." Mike also went on to say that Bill did an outstanding job on the Case Classic whittlers back when he was Queen's top knife designer. I also have a medium-large Case Classic whittler with a Warney main. I will send it for a future video. Due to our recent discussion of the details on how split-back whittlers are made in past videos, I can now give my fingers a break, and Rob gets an early reprieve from suffering over my sloppy penmanship. Remember Steve's split-back whittler diagram? I thought it was pretty good, not very sloppy at all. Let's take a look just to refresh our memories on what a split-back whittler is. You have two back springs running the main blade, and they come together past this center wedge spacer, so they meet where they interface the tang of the main blade, and then that center wedge spacer becomes the back spacer for the two secondary blades. Just to review. Now let's let the knives do the talking for the rest of this video. Their quality and beauty as both a wood carving tool and a gentleman's whittler have plenty to say all by themselves. Take care, everyone. Thanks, Steve. Now let's just sort of go around these knives and let me do a little wipe before we do that. First, let's look at this prototype with the large pinned Un-X-Ld shield, lined and pinched bolsters. Transitions are, well, I want to say sort of typical 2011 GEC. The corners of the bolsters are quite proud. They have remedied that in recent runs, but you definitely feel these. But other than that, fit and finish is immaculate. Look at the ends of the springs. And one by one, let's kind of just look at the grinds of the knives. Perfectly executed plunge grinds and sharpening notches. Great consistency and finish even in the swedge. The polish is super consistent. Tang stamps are sharp. Blade grinds are dead flat. You see no waviness. The coping blade is one GEC doesn't always get right, but look at how straight that edge is. Even the tip, pretty darn good, not very rounded at all. Again, so difficult in a small blade. Look at the sharpening notch and plunge grind. Plenty of room to get your stone in there, make that knife sharp all the way to the base. And I think you're going to see the same thing on the clip. You bet. Case. That's what the point of a clip point knife should look like in a traditional. You will see on the clip, on the small clip, there's a little rub on the liner side, right at the tip. Let's see if I can pick that up. There you go. See it? That's pretty standard fare for a smallish whittler. Hard to avoid. And now let's look at this blue abalone. Transitions are much cleaner. Much cleaner. Just beautiful. Again, guys, pull out your case knives or your queen knives, your Shatton Morgans, and look at this area of the knife. It'll not look like that. GEC is about the only company making traditional knives that gets this right. In fact, they're one of the few companies making any kind of knives that get that right. Just amazing. This coping blade even better than on the Northfield. Oh, man, guys, they just do such a great job. They really do. Look at that gorgeous little clip. Oh. If you can find one of these and you have any kind of desire for whittlers, get one. That's all for tonight, my friends. Hope you enjoyed this video. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the Word is sharp.